A sharpened pencil lead has two features that are constantly on display, but they're so simple, we've stopped noticing them. And yet these two features actually encode secret messages, which artists have used for centuries to grade the quality of their materials. Welcome back, everyone. This is the author from Life Noggin. And today we're answering the extraordinary questions that you've been missing your whole life. You've been missing secret messages your whole life. But I can change that because today, I'm going to show you the hidden meanings behind some of the most mundane objects you pass by every day. From the pencil to the traffic lights to the dollar bill. First up, let's talk about pencils. A sharpened pencil lead has two features that are constantly on display, but they're so simple we've stopped noticing them. And yet, these two features actually encode secret messages which artists have used for centuries. To grade the quality of their materials, the letters and numbers printed on the side of your pencil don't just indicate the model, they tell you the pencil's lead composition. Each letter corresponds to a hardness level. The higher the number, or the closer the letter is to the letter H on the periodic table, the harder the lead. Harder pencils produce thinner, finer lines, and are better suited for writing and drawing detailed pictures. Lower numbers indicate softer leads, which produce thicker, bolder lines. These are better for sketching and shading large areas. But it's not just the letters that can tell you a lot about the pencil. The numbers do too. They're the diameter of the pencil lead in millimeters. So if you want to know how thick the line your pencil will make, check out the number first. Then if you want to know how hard the lead is, check out the letter. Moving on, let's look at barcodes. Those black lines on a white background might seem like an uninspired design choice, but they contain a secret language. Every barcode tells the story of the country it was made in, the company that owns it, and the journey the product took to get to you. Let's take this barcode as an example. It starts with the country code 6 in the United Arab Emirates. Next is the manufacturer's code, which you can look up on a public database to find out who made it. After that comes the product code, which is unique to this product and lets the scanner know exactly what it's looking at. Finally, the last bit is a check digit that ensures the rest of the code was scanned correctly. But beyond those basics, the lines themselves hold even more information. Each line represents a different character in an 8-bit binary code. When translated, these characters tell you all kinds of things about the product, like its weight, dimensions, and whether it's made of metal or plastic. Barcodes are everywhere, but it's only when you realize what they're saying that you start to understand the full picture. Speaking of being everywhere, let's look at traffic lights. You probably think you already know everything about traffic lights. Red means stop, green means go. But do you ever wonder why red means stop in every country around the world? Or why yellow means caution in some places and orange in others? If you guess the answer is convention, you'd be wrong. There's actual science behind it. At the dawn of traffic lights, several major cities across Europe and America began experimenting with different colors to see which worked best. Red was chosen because it has the longest wavelength in the visible spectrum, meaning it's the color we notice first. Yellow was chosen because it has the second longest wavelength. Green was chosen because it has the shortest wavelength, and blue lights were never used because they simply weren't bright enough. But while red may be the color of courage, it's also the color of danger, blood, and communism, so using it to stop traffic makes sense. In fact, the first recorded use of red traffic lights dates back to ancient Rome, where a red flag indicated danger. Of course, the Romans didn't have cars, but they did have chariots. So they hung red flags from posts to warn people of their approach. And one of the first places to adopt electric traffic lights in the 19th century was Detroit, Michigan. But not everyone was happy about the new technology. One man was injured so badly by a red light that he sued the city for failing to warn him that it was coming. Next, let's talk about USB. You probably didn't realize there was anything to know about the USB symbol, but trust me, the story behind it is worth knowing. First off, it's not actually a USB, at least not in the way we think of it today. The device that eventually became the Universal Serial Bus was invented in 1979, but the symbol was already in use 3,000 years earlier. In ancient Egypt, soldiers would fight with wooden staffs tipped with sharp metal. Sounds familiar? Well, one type of staff weapon was particularly effective, double-edged, pointed at both ends, and crossed in the middle to form an X-voila. The USB, scholars think these weapons were used as early as 3000 BC and depicted in artwork as late as 1000 BC. but it was in T until 2,000 years later that someone decided to turn them into a piece of tech. Let's shift our focus to dollar bills. For centuries, the US dollar has been the world's leading currency, but few people know the true meaning behind the symbols printed on it. The most famous is the pyramid, with an all-seeing eye at the top. The pyramid symbolizes strength and durability. But according to some, it also symbolizes the Illuminati, a secret society rumored to control world events. Some believe the eye represents the Illuminati's watchful gaze over humanity, while others believe it's proof the US government is part of a larger conspiracy. But there's no evidence the Illuminati exists, let alone that they control the US government. The all-seeing eye was modeled after the Egyptian Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection, not world domination. And the pyramid isn't just a random choice. It references a quote by the Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder. A people without a history is like a country without a map. The other big symbol on the dollar bill is the bald eagle. It symbolizes freedom and power. But to some, it symbolizes something else entirely. The eagle is holding an olive branch in its left talon and arrows in its right, symbolizing peace and war. But to some, the placement of the olive branch is no accident. They say it's deliberately placed under the eagle's belly to symbolize submission. But there's no evidence this is true. Eagle was simply designed to appear centered on the bill. And finally, there's the Latin phrases Novus Ordo Seclorum, meaning New World Order, in Unawaite Coptic, meaning providence favors our undertakings. Together, they seem to imply a grand plan for the United States. But again, there's no evidence of a grand plan. The phrases were simply chosen because they sounded cool and fit the bill's theme of America as a new world. But not all secret messages are written. Sometimes they're hidden in plain sight. Take the FedEx logo, for instance. At first glance, it looks like the letter E. But when you really look at it, you realize there's something strange going on. The arrow pointing right is the same size as the arrow pointing left. Because of this, our brains try to make sense of it by filling in the missing piece. We imagine another arrow pointing down, creating an illusion of depth. But there's no arrow pointing down. That's just our brains doing what they do. This optical illusion was intentional. It was designed by FedEx's marketing team to convey speed and precision. They wanted to show that FedEx could deliver packages quickly and accurately no matter where they were coming from or going to. And I bet you didn't even notice it before today. Let's move on to stop signs. At 8 sides, they're one of the most recognizable shapes in the world. But why are they octagonal? Circles seemed like the obvious choice. After all, they're easy to draw and instantly recognizable. But stop signs aren't the only thing competing for your attention at an intersection. That's why the octagon was chosen. It stands out among the circles and squares that drivers see every day, helping them focus on the message. And it's not just important for drivers, it's important for pedestrians, cyclists, and animals too. In 2011, the added visibility of octagonal stop signs saved an estimated 154 to 249 lives in the United States alone. And finally, let's talk about rubber ducks. Most of us remember the first time we got one of these toys. We were probably sitting in the tub trying to figure out where babies go when they reflushed away. But this iconic toy almost never made it to your bathtub. Before becoming bathroom companions, rubber ducks were naval weapons. They were invented in the mid-1800s as a way to rescue sailors who fell overboard. But they proved to be ineffective and were eventually banned by the US Navy. Decades later, they found new life as bath toys for rich kids who could afford the luxury of molded rubber. But they almost met an even more horrifying fate. During World War II, the Japanese planned to invade the United States, and they knew the Americans loved rubber ducks. So they began mass-producing them in preparation for the influx of new duck owners. But the attack never happened, and the ducks were never released to the public. Instead, they ended up in storage where they sat for decades. It wasn't until the 1970s that someone rediscovered them and decided to sell them as kitschy souvenirs. The rest is history. So there you have it, 5 mundane objects with hidden messages that you've been missing your whole life. But wait, there's more. Now, it's your turn to spot the secret messages hidden in everyday life. What do you see that has a double meaning or a backstory you never knew about? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, be sure to check out my other videos from the series. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to keep on thinking.